Hi, my name's Leo Nazar and welcome to the Luton Health and Fitness Show. Okay, just very quickly, I think by now everybody knows who I am: fitness instructor, martial arts teacher. Okay, and I do also injuries, sports related. Tonight's subject is going to be about your stomach, training the stomach. People have asked me the $100 question. How do we make six pack or how do we make flat stomach? So we're going to go through some talking about what diets to have, what kind of eating habits that we need to have in order to try to flatten our stomach, okay, and hopefully make it a little bit more fitter. This is a pre-recorded show, so if you have any questions or queries, by all means, just ring and leave a message, and we can WhatsApp you back. Okay, you know the number for the office here. It's Luton 01582481822. Or WhatsApp us on 07779481822. Right, so as you're aware, I'm at my gym in Luton in Bury Park, and we're just going to show you a few little exercises after we've gone through a little bit of fitness training and diet discipline. Right, so when people hear the word diet, they will get really concerned that, look, what does that mean, and what do we have to cut down so much? What do we have to change? Diet normally means that we're going to have to portion control what we're eating. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we have to change everything that we eat and, we're going to start having bran flakes for breakfast, muesli, stuff like this. It just means we have to tidy up what we're eating. So we're going to try to cut the sugar down. So there's a secret in trying to lose weight and trying to get a flatter stomach is by trying to cut the sugar content right down. Now, a lot of foods that we buy and we eat, they all contain sugar. If they don't have sugar, they have E numbers, which is, artificial sugar, still builds up calories. So we need to make sure that we're trying to cut down those as much as possible. So when you're eating, just imagine you're having anything and you're adding sugar. You could be having a bowl of cornflakes, for example. The first stage of the diet, as I call it, would be trying to cut that down to 50%. So if you're having 2 teaspoons of sugar, on top of your cornflakes, I'd recommend that the first cut down of the diet stage would be, rather than having 2 teaspoons, just have the 1, okay? And that goes with everything that you do, right? So whatever you're having, try and go 50% less in it. So we're not going to tell you to stop eating some of the foods which are not the best for you, yeah? But times maybe vary of when to have them. I've mentioned this before in a program. One of my friends, and probably still remembers, if he's listening to the show, he liked to have jelly every day. He wanted jelly, no matter what. And he used to have it just before he went to bed. And what I said to him was, there's nothing wrong with having jelly, even almost every day. But let's now change the time that we have the jelly. Let's have it before our lunchtime. So before 1 p.m., 1300, is the best time to have it. Obviously, if you are going to have jelly. Again, a lot of preservatives, a lot of sugar. But again, you've got the rest of the day to work that off. So the extra carbs, the extra fat that you do put on with that can be worked throughout the day. So what I said to him, it wasn't jelly, sorry, it was trifle. So I remember that now. So it was trifle that he wanted, which is a mixture of jelly and cream. So I said to him, okay, if you can still carry on, because he said, no, I can't do any diets without my trifle. I said, no problem. You could have your trifle, but now let's have it more early morning if we can. If not, maybe not the first thing waking up to that, then it will be before lunchtime. And that's it. Basically, after lunchtime, we're trying to cut that right down. We're trying to bring the sugars down, the fat content down. So that wouldn't be a good idea to have it then. So my suggestion to people when it comes to diets, first thing is you've got to remember white and brown. 2 complete different contrasts of color. One's really light, the other one's really dark, as it were. The darker, they are, is more healthier for you. So if you're adding sugar, for example, brown sugar is a little bit more healthier than white sugar. So that could be another way of cutting down, rather than first from 2 teaspoons to 1 teaspoon, great. The next stage would be maybe 1 teaspoon, but brown sugar rather than white. And the same thing goes across spectrum. So when it comes to food, Again, bread is not recommended for losing weight. It's probably one of the worst things to have. But again, people have been doing that all their lives, having toast for breakfast. Maybe going to brown toast, wholemeal, seeded type. These carry more fiber, more protein even, some of them, compared to the white. The white ones are more starchy and they carry a lot of sugar and carbohydrate content, which is what we're trying to cut down on. So a certain amount of carbs the body should be having in a day. Now, average person, carb content and protein content and fat, varies. On average, they say 25% normally, it's going to be your 25 to 30% even is your protein content in a day. Then you have the fats, okay, soluble and non-soluble. We're not going to go into too much into what soluble fat is and what non-soluble fat is. But one is the good fats and one are the bad fats, which are not so good for you. Bad fats, as you know, would be like cakes, trifle, like we mentioned earlier, crisps, chocolate, that kind of stuff. There are good fats that we could also have, okay, which are quite good for you. And they do need to be consumed in a day for our good digestive system and our immune system, etc. So we do need certain things. We do have fat content throughout the day. We do need to have that. Carbohydrates, 55 to 60%. Okay? So if you're having that sort of 55, 60% carb range, you're having 25% to 30% protein. That doesn't leave very much, okay, for the fats. Okay, so that is a percentage roughly we should be looking at. Okay, again, for people who are bodybuilding and want to build more muscle mass, we increase the protein level. So the protein level can almost double, but then something else has to reduce, and normally what they reduce is the carbohydrates. For building muscle, we drop the carbohydrates down, okay, and we double up the protein so we can have a lot more protein. Now again, protein works on how much protein to have per grams, okay, and if you look on it, for example, if I give you a can of tuna, an average can of tuna, anything between 23 to 27 grams of protein, okay, so, and this go by your weight wise, so depending on how many pounds you are, how much protein that you should be having, okay, so let's say around about 2 grams per pound of protein you should be having. So if I weigh, last time I weighed myself, 220 pounds or something like that, okay, so you have to divide that on the amount of grams of protein that you need to be having in a day, okay, so the minimum I should be having grams of protein would be around about 220 minimum, okay, maybe almost doubling that in order to bodybuild, and what does protein do? Okay, so just remember what protein does. It gives us the muscle binding effect. So what it does is, it recuperates our recovery. So when people get tired after training and they get lethargic and why do they say protein shake straight after training? Okay, normally straight after training, not so much prior to training. They have pre-workouts and whatever else that they have for bodybuilding. Again, pre-workouts, okay, very quickly, are normally, as the name suggests, pre-workout, before you work out, therefore energy. So they give you the extra energy that you have, okay? So that will give you the extra bounce, the extra, maybe a couple of reps, the extra mile run if you're doing that, okay? So very important to have that before if you're tired. After training, protein levels are really low. What happens is the body now is hungry, okay, which you should be after training, after doing an hour and a half, 2 hours of training. I can't wait to go and get something to eat. So you should be feeling very hungry. And what do? We have protein. Normally a protein shake, because it's quickest and easiest to be easily done. Some people are against protein shakes and they're saying, well, they're not the best thing. People have asked me on protein shakes as well. Again, that's down to the individual. I don't think there's anything wrong with the protein shake, providing you just, again, which protein shake to have. As long as you have maybe one a day. Some guys I know, they have protein shakes, bodybuilding guys have protein shakes in between their meals. Okay, so the best thing to do is look for a protein shake that's not so high on carbs. I remember having one a few years ago, 3 grams of carbs per serving, which is pretty good. In fact, it's pretty excellent. Okay, if you look on the back, it tells you on how many scoops is one serving, and that one serving contains this much carbs, this much protein. My protein levels are fairly high in the ones that I had, and they are quite expensive, some of these protein powders, because be at £60, which will last you maybe a month. That's quite expensive as far as I'm concerned. But that's what you're paying for, quality. The isolate protein, okay, these are the monohydrates and everything else inside the protein are broken down even more. So the chain of protein is so smoothly broken down that the body can absorb most of it. And that's what it means. The cheaper protein, the body takes what it can and obviously excludes out the rest. So that could be obviously coming out when you urinate as well. So the protein will be wasted in a way. Sometimes excess protein can also be stored as fat. Okay? So people are thinking, your body can only consume a certain amount of protein. So I've seen a lot of bodybuilders, I have 78 grams in one sitting. To be honest, naturally, your body probably won't be able to have 78 grams and absorb 70. It's like me having three cans of tuna and saying, right, I've had 78 grams roughly of protein. I have, but my body's probably only had less than half of that. So normally in one sitting, on average, about 25 to maybe 35 grams of protein on average person. Okay, so again, we look at our body weight. Yeah, so what do we weigh? And then we have that many grams of protein throughout the day. So if I was having 250 grams of protein, depending on how many meals I have. So if I had 5 meals a day, I'd be looking at almost 45, 50 grams of protein per sitting. In between, obviously, my meals, I have small snacks, which could be a protein shake that brings the protein level high. I could have little nuts, okay? Cashew nuts, normally the best recommended nuts, Brazil nuts, almonds. These also contain a certain amount of protein. Yeah, so these are something that you can have in between your meals if you're looking to bodybuild. I keep talking about bodybuilding quite a bit today, but that's because normally on the shows that we have, we talk about fitness, because most people are into fitness rather than bodybuilding. So, this is for the meatheads, those who like to get big and strong. There's nothing wrong in that. I mean, there's always, in a gym, you'll see bodybuilders. But if you look around at the gym, wherever gym you go to, more than likely, unless it's a bodybuilding gym, you'll find out that most of the people that go to the gym, over 75%, I'd say, are into the cardio fitness looking, rather than big, V-shape, big shoulders, that kind of body mass. Yeah, I mean, have a look at the gyms that you go to, guys, and what you'll see is you look around and you see the kind of training what people do. What I've seen so many times in gyms, people still try and lift heavy weights when they don't need to be lifting that heavy, because it puts a lot of strain on your joints. Okay. Anyway, that's a separate session. We're not talking about that tonight. So just another quick reminder. Okay. The number of the office here is 01582 481822, or WhatsApp us on 07779, and the same number again, 481822. Remember, it's pre-recorded, so if you do have any questions or queries, send your messages, no problem, we'll get back to you at the earliest convenience. So, coming back to what we were saying about diets and whatever. So, carbs are important. What is carbs? Carbs are... You can be simple or complex carbs. And again, I'm not going to go too much into that, but just quickly summing that up. Simple carbs are things like chocolate. This will contain carbohydrates to give you energy. I've seen people having a quick Mars bar before they go training because they're having nothing at all. Gives you that quick boost of energy. Lucozade Sport, a little bit more energy while you're training. This is rather than going on an empty stomach. And then there's complex carbs. Complex carbs are carbs which are time released in a way. Just like tablets, I used to have vitamin tablets before, time released. So that means that when you go to the toilet, for example, to urinate, some of the vitamins do actually come out. You'll see the colour of urine changes because of the tablets that you're having. Now, these time release tablets means, yes, some of it is wasting every time you go to the toilet, as it were, but they're time released, which means only a certain percentage of that tablet has been wasted. Unlike the cheaper tablets, normally if you have a tablet, all of a sudden you want to go to the toilet, urinate, and most of the vitamins are actually gone. And then you'll need to have more tablets. So time released is very important. So same as the complex carbs. they'll give you energy. What do the carbs do? They give you energy. So they feed your brain and they give you energy to move and to basically be active. Those people who kind of, I've had people saying, I've got to have zero carbs. Zero carb diets, I definitely don't, recommend them. I see why people do them. I'm going on holiday if I was in 4 weeks' time. I need to sort myself out. There's many ways people do 13-hour fasts and try and do that, which still does work in a different manner, all right? So you can fast for longer, have your little carbs in the morning, then fast, and then, but depends on what training that you're also doing in between. It's not all about just fasting. So you've got to remember this, yeah? Because what happens is sometimes the weight does come off quick, but as soon as you start having a little bit of sugar or you start having something that you normally have, the weight comes on. Not only does it come on really quick, it normally comes on and doubles. So what you find is I've lost a stone like that, great. But after, this is what people do, these little crash diets as they're called. When they come back from holiday or they start eating while they're on holiday, they come back twice as big, as it were. So they put on 2 stone while they've been away. And then they got to start back, not only from stage 1, but minus stage as it was, I call it, because you now got to get rid of that 1 stone to get back to where you were before. So this is where you have to be very mentally strong as well when you're doing diets and trying to keep to what you need to be doing and be quite strict with them. And now people say how many cheat meals, especially cheat meals mean obviously have whatever you want within reason. I know some guys who are bodybuilding on a regular basis and they're very fit and their body percentage fat is less than 6 to 8%, which is pretty good. When I was bodybuilding before, I did a little, not a show, but I went to a show and I dieted down probably about 8 years ago plus now. And I had all my abs out at that time and my body fat percentage was still quite high. Look, everyone said, oh, it's nothing much, this brilliant. It was good, it was all right. But percentage of body fat was still quite high in my opinion. It was close to just under 10%, I think it was about 8%. But my bodybuilding friends I've seen, I've looked at them, some of them were down to 4%, which is barely be able to do that. So that would be roughly 4% on my forearm, for example. So I tense my forearm, you see that? Yeah? That's almost skin. That would be something like 4%. And again, body fat measurements, those who understand how to do them are skin folds. Okay, we take measurements from certain area with the calipers style that they have, and you work out your body mass index through those and how to lose weight and all the rest of it. And again, that's a separate show altogether. So, carbohydrates, protein are very important. Fats, obviously, everybody needs some fats in their diet, okay? So it helps. Water is so important. I'm going to mention this again because everybody said to me about this. How often do you need to drink? Often and regular and often as possible. In a day, I have difficulties in drinking as much water as I should be, okay? Big 2 litre bottles. You should be trying to, depending on obviously what age you are and what body weight you are also matters. Okay, but you should be at least trying to have at least 2 of those in a day. So looking at least 4 litres. All right. So average person, they say 6 recommended glasses. A normal glass size, 6 of those in a day. Right. That should be your minimum amount of water. Water helps. Is what we're built of. We're made of. Okay. Our body is 85% water content. So we need to keep that going. Every time we lose a bit of weight through sweat, we get hydrated, dehydrated. We need to hydrate ourselves. So it's very, very important. And again, there are the bits of adding on juices onto with water to dilute them to be able to absorb them. Again, pure juices are not normally recommended. They're too thick to absorb and they contain a lot of sugar and fat, which might make you feel sick during training. So really light drink. Water is obviously the best. For higher performance, you can have performance drinks. Lucozade. Again, we're not into brands and naming other things, but things like that you can have to boost your performance if you need to do that. If you're going to a competition, you need a little bit more, so you need to see how much difference it makes with or without. Certain places, I was in the army before, and even then Red Bull and things like this, they used to say to us, how long ago have you guys had that? Had to be out of your system. So you had to have, if you had a Red Bull or whatever, had to be at least 3 hours before our training started, because it does help. So they were saying that if it's in your system, then you won't be able to do today's exercises, for example. We were doing personal best on certain things, running, tabbing, stuff like this. So key things to remember on the diets. Carbohydrates and protein and fats, all very, very important. Percentage wise, obviously a lot more, maybe double on carbs compared to the protein on average person, and maybe 10 to 15% would be the fat that we have. Cut down if you're on a diet from white stuff to brown stuff. This is a quick summary of what we went through today. So whatever you have, first diet place would be to come down in 50%. Okay, so 50% down, 2 scoops of sugar, come down to 1 straight away. That would be the first stage. Also from white to brown. If you have white flour, let's use brown. We have white bread, let's use brown bread. And again, brown bread, more seedy the better. Okay. Some people don't like seeded bread, fine, I understand that. Then wholemeal bread. It's just the same as white, okay? Doesn't taste as good as white, I know that, but that carries less fat and more better for you. So these are the different stages of diet that we should be doing. Again, portion control is another thing to remember element. So if you're having whatever you're having, portion control, so you know this much of carbs, this much of this, and whatever. So you don't have to go as far as weighing it, but at least you know this is amount of what we're going to have in that meal. Meal preps are very, very important, I think. I know it's very hard, people haven't got the time, but do them first. Yeah, so you've got 5 meals already prepped for the day. I'll be having this in 2-3 hours time. I'll be having that in 2-3 hours time. Everything's already prepped. And in between, try to eat clean. Because at the end of the week, treat yourselves. They say 1 cheat meal a week. I say up to 3 cheat meals a week, you still can't go wrong. Okay? And again, if you've got bodybuilding or you've got competitions, that's a bit different. For an average person, if he eats clean, he's eating 5 meals a day, every day. At the end of the week, he's done how many meals? 7 times 5. 7 5s, 35 meals. Those, by all means, if you did at least 30 decent meals out of 35 in a week, you still can't go wrong. And again, it depends on what those 5 meals are. Okay, so the meal very quickly on the cheat meal means everything needs to be done there and then. So if you're having trifle, for example, has to be had with that meal. So I might eat my chicken and chips and then trifle straight away. We don't wait an hour and say, right, I'll have the trifle now. That becomes another meal then. So these cheat meals are at set times where you have your meal, you have that. So you don't have to be that strict that in a week you have to have 1 cheat meal. 2 or 3 cheat meals in a week, it's not going to be that much of a difference as long as you eat clean throughout the day. So this is a secret to remember. Not secret, everyone should know this. And I'm here to make sure that everybody does know. This is how we do our diets. We portion control. We drop what we have. We have certain times. Try to have the sugary, whatever stuff, before 1 p.m. As you get better, hopefully earlier the better. The more later in the day, the body starts to slow down. Metabolism slows right down. So what you're going to find is, it's going to be difficult for you guys to be able to get rid of certain calories. And the secret, again, not so much of a secret, calories in, deficit of calories, minus calories out will give you an idea of your body content. I want to lose weight, therefore I'm going to bring in 3,000 calories, for just an example. Okay? If I'm bringing in 3,000 calories, how much am I using up in a day roughly? Okay? If I'm only using up 1,000 calories and I've got 2,000 calories left over, we're not going to lose much weight. Okay, so just remember the calorie deficit on what calories in minus calories out will give you a total of roughly what you're going to be. Bodybuilders want to increase weight, so they bring in 4,000 or 5,000 calories, some of them, in a day. And they try not to use most of them, because if they use 4,000 out of 5,000, they're not going to be putting on any weight. So this is what it is. And remember, to slow your metabolism down, talk slowly, sit down rather than stand up. Lie down at home if you get some time, have your feet raised. This all conserves calories, okay? And to lose up calories, talk a lot more, move around a lot more, try not to sit down so much, try not to lie down as much, complete opposite. So these are basic rules for everyone to know of how to increase weight, what to do on basic foods. The second part of the show, we're going to go through our stomach, which I did mention earlier on, and go through some exercises as well, of what to have to eat, as well as how to train our stomach, okay, to keep it nice and flat, and even maybe possibly trying to get the 6-pack. So the number for the radio show office is 01582 481822, or you can WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. 222. So we're going to go for our break now, and we're going to see you on the latter part of the show where we're going to go through our stomach. Those people who are listening, the second part of the show is going to be about our stomach, how to keep it nice and flat, how to maybe even try to get our six-pack coming through, and what kind of things to eat to help us along those lines, and hopefully what exercise, and I can demonstrate them to you here so you can have a little look at what exercises, how many sets to do, how many times in a week we have to actually train that in order for it to build, or in most cases cut down.
Get Luton prayer and Jamaat times for your local masjid on your phone. Download the Inspire FM app, available for free on the App Store or Google Play.
Hello, my name's Leo Nazar, and welcome to the second part of the Luton Health and Fitness Show. On the first part, we went through some diet training, as in what to have for diets, how to cut down from white to brown, portion control, etc. Summarising what we've done on the first part of the show. This latter part of the show now, we're going to go through, like as we said earlier on, it's going to be some physical, practical demos of how to exercise our core, our stomach muscles, as it were. So, very quickly, this is a pre-recorded show, so if you have any questions or queries, by all means you can text or WhatsApp us, but we won't get back to you straight away because it's a recorded show. So coming back to what we're doing, abs. So you've got the top, you've got the middle, and you've got the lower abs, okay? What you find normally the hardest ones to work are the ones at the bottom. The lower they come, the more where the fat content actually goes to rest. So it's quite easy. You'll find a lot of people maybe are very hard up here. As your hands go further down, it gets softer and softer and softer, because that's the abs are not working as hard. And that's where the fat stores, right down on the bottom abs, okay? So again, we're going to go through some exercises, practical demos of how to train the separate sections of the stomach. Obliques that come, the muscles that come around from the side, yeah? They're interlocking muscles, okay? So they're very important that we also train as well. Same as the side ones here. They're all interlocked, as it were, for the stomach. So we don't just want to work ab 1, 2, and 6 abs. We need to work the muscles that come around and the handles, as they're called, on the side here. So this will be by twisting, by bending, which I'm going to show you guys what to do. Right. I'm going to have this little mat here to help me, assist me. And I'm sure everybody has got some kind of a mat they can use at home. Failing that, I've got floor mats here anyway, so I don't really need to worry too much about that. So, coming back to the stomach, most of the exercises for stomach are normally done on the floor. And the first thing I'm going to show you is how do we stretch the stomach, all right? Which normally gets done at the end. So any stretching exercises, as I've said before, many times they're normally done at the end of the session. But we're going to start with this for you guys because a lot of people don't know how to stretch the abs. Stretching the abs, obviously, we've got to make sure we are elongating the muscles, lengthening the muscles. How do we lengthen the abs? By doing the crunch, it does the complete opposite, doesn't it? It contracts the muscles. So the muscles are not lengthened. It needs to go the other way. So this kind of movement, where we're expanding the muscles. The easiest way to do that would be on the floor. So on the mat, for example, and you lie down on the floor, okay, hands on the side, nice and soft, legs down, and all you do is just lift up slowly with your arms, and all we're doing is straightening our arms to your hips, pushing our hips to the floor. We're not trying to arch our back like this, we're just bringing our hips down towards the floor, okay? And these, again, stretches, as I've said before, minimum 8 to 10 seconds in that position. You'll find that normally after about 6-7 seconds, okay, the muscle starts to lengthen. So doing a stretch, imagine I was doing a stretch and I've done that. 1, 2, 3, 4, and I said, all right, that's it. No, nothing's really happened, okay? Round about 6 seconds to activate the stretch. That's why they say minimum 8 to 10 seconds. They give you that little time limit. 8 to 10, more closer to 10 seconds. The longer you hold the stretch, that's better for you, but it's very boring, isn't it? Try holding the stretch more than 10 seconds. It's very, very boring. So that's how we stretch the easiest way to stretch our stomach. Okay, so just keeping our hips going towards the floor, and all we do is straighten our arms. Okay, we don't need to arch our back or look up into the air. Right, nice easy exercise for your stomach. And again, known as your core. This is the center of all your muscles. This is where the strongest muscles are, really. All right, the center of gravity right here, right by the stomach. So basic exercise would be plank position. Now, plank position can be done as a high plank in a press-up position. Okay, toes bent, or you're on the ball of the foot. Everything is straight, and we hold this position. And again, most of you people should be able to hold this for no problem for 30 seconds. Again, the better you are, we go to a minute, 2 minutes. Me for martial arts, depending on how much the round is, 3-minute round, we need to hold for 3 minutes. Okay? So again, go at your own pace. If you've never done this before and you struggle after 10 seconds, you know when you're struggling. You'll start shaking and whatever. It's no problem. Have a little rest, okay? 10 seconds, maybe 15 second rest, and then back on the exercise again. So that's one position for a high plank, as I call it. Some people, it's a press-up position. This is normally the basic plank position. So we are on our forearms, our elbows touching the floor, so is our arms. The front part of the arms, here. Head up, pointing forward. Buttocks slightly high, okay? Better than having it dipped this way, putting strain on my back now I am. So up here, holding. And again, thing to remember here is, this position, my shoulder is too far back. That way, my shoulder is too far forward. So if you're doing plank like this, that's not good. So my elbow and my midline of my shoulder, this should be in line, okay? And we hold that position. Again, to make it slightly harder, hands go like this. Same position with my shoulders, and we're holding up in this position. Again, to make it vary that, I can have one leg off the floor, yes? Okay, so after 10 seconds, change with the other leg. If we're doing this plank position high, I can have my arm or my leg up at the same time, holding. Now my stabilizing muscles also start working. Stabilizing muscles of the shoulder, because now the weight's trying to do this, my weight, because it's uneven maybe. The muscles are compensating now. So these are very easy ways of varying the intensity of an exercise to make them a little bit harder or easier depending on what you do. Okay, so a very important point I'm trying to make here is you don't have to go to the gym to do exercises. You could do them at home, especially when it comes to stomach. How often do the stomach exercises have to be done? Well, I say only every other day. 3 times a week minimum, really. How long do we spend? People, how long do I need to spend on my stomach? It's a big muscle. How long do you spend doing your shoulders? How long do you spend doing your chest? And the answer is normally at least 30 minutes, yeah? I know no one does chest for about 10 minutes. So we're looking minimum 15, 20 minutes. Okay, so here's another body part, working every day and resting in between. Okay, basic exercises everybody knows for the stomach. Feet flat on the floor, 90 degrees. So this is not a 90-degree angle here. Okay, that's much less than 90. That would be far greater than 90. That's probably about 140. I mean, I haven't measured this angle. Anything from 140 onwards, yeah? So 90 degrees, nice and soft with our knees. And simple exercise would be hands here. And all we're doing is just squeezing contracting our stomach muscles, and we're raising off the floor. 1, 2, 3, back down. Breathing is also very important. When do we breathe in and when do we breathe out? On most exercises, the breathing when you put the effort in. So the effort isn't going down, is it? That's the easy bit. The effort is now coming up. So breathe out. In. Out. Hold 1, 2, 3 and back down. Again, these are done in sets of minimum is 10 reps. And again, if you can't hold for 3 seconds, just up and down to start with, okay? Is good enough. So complete beginner up, squeeze back down. Up, squeeze. So we don't want to be swinging like this, okay? Need to contract our muscles for us to be able to lift. So we're shortening, contracting, and the stomach muscles are making me hold this position, okay? And that's relaxed, okay? So it's very, very simple, basic exercise. And again, exercise can be varied to make them harder, okay, or easier. can't get much easier than the one we just did, okay? The way to make this easier, we can still make this exercise easier. If I can't do this, yeah, no worries. Use your arms, swing them forward to help with the momentum. So up, back down, up. If I can't do this by my muscles, with my stomach muscles, that's fine. It means they haven't developed at the moment, no problem. We're going to develop them. So how are we going to develop them? Yeah, I can have someone holding a rope and pulling me up. Yeah, that'll help me a bit, but I'm on my own. So how do I do that? Use my arms. Swing up, back down, up, down. Split second hold, back down. Rather than just, this is not good. Controlling on the negative and positive phase. What is negative, positive phase? Again, very quickly. Negative phase and positive phase. Positive phase is on the positive part of the exercise, the effort part. Okay, so if I'm doing a bicep curl, for example, that would be the positive. Negative is on the way back down. Need to work both. Same as this, positive phase is the coming up. You're getting help. Control it back down. So you need don't just drop back down to the negative side. It's very, very important that we remember that the positive side is very important of every exercise, and most people know that. What people don't know is it's just as important for the negative phase, for every exercise. Okay, again, I'm going to use the bicep because everybody knows that one. As we squeeze up, it's nice to see people, and then just drop the weight back down. Isn't what we want. We need to control the weight back down. And the same thing we want to do with our stomach now. So we up and control back down. So now, to make this easier, the positive phase is getting helped by swinging your arms. The negative phase isn't getting much help because you're actually using your stomach muscles if you slow it down. So is that important to remember the positive and negative side to every exercise? Yeah, there's always an up and down movement, okay? A left and right movement. So those are the positive and negative phases of every exercise, and they both need to be done properly. Other exercises to make this exercise harder now. We made it easier from the standard exercise, which I said was this, by swinging our arms. Now I want to make it harder. I'm finding this exercise here very easy. So how do we make that even harder? Well, there's many ways we can make it harder. Okay? Simple way would be put your feet out in front. Now try coming up. Okay? So already I find this much harder than my feet were resting on the floor. Okay? So now already, just by lifting my legs up, I can feel strain, I can feel muscle under stress here. It's working. There, shouldn't feel back is flat on the floor, you'll feel no tension on your stomach. It'll be just as soft as it was, yeah, as it normally is. As I straighten out my legs and lift them off the floor, already with the weight of my legs, that's gone harder, okay? And as I start to come up like this, now my full range of abs are also engaged. So there are many ways we can make an exercise slightly easier or even harder. So you don't have to look at exercise, oh, that's no good. You can add on weight. We've done resistance bands. A lot of the exercises can work with bands. You've got the gym where you've got the levers that you're using there, the cables. Excuse me. So there are ways to increase or decrease the intensity. Now, here are some basic exercises we're going to go through. In order to work the top abs, for example, what do we do? All right. What we've done is when we did this exercise here, that is mainly concentrating on the two top ones. Your whole core gets worked, don't get me wrong, but more emphasis on here. Okay. To work the bottom part of the abs, which are the hardest bits to work, we need to come from that way, from this direction now. We've done this direction, top. We need to come this way. So how do we do that? Here's one way, lifting up. See this? Up. Now we engage again. The whole core's getting engaged, don't get me wrong. But percentage-wise, you've got more percentage working the lower part of your stomach. Okay? To work the center more, even though he does the whole lot. You want to squeeze them both at the same time. So, here, elbows to knees, squeeze, back down. So this bit here would be more lower abs. This, top abs. center. It's working both of them at the same time, so we're working the whole six pack. Okay, so those are very basic exercises of how to work top, middle and bottom part of the abs. I mentioned earlier in obliques, the muscles that come from the side that join onto the abs. They're very important as well. Okay, so it's not just a lumpy abs, you've got to look at the sides in order for them to be cut down. How do we do that? Quite different, couple of different ways. Got to need obliques on the side, twisted muscles here. So, same thing we've got to do with our legs now. Got to try to twist them somehow. Here's one way. See this? That's what's happened. So working this part. There's my muscles and now we're working. No longer the center. Here's my abs. Abs are still here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 hopefully. Here. So we do is drop our knees to one side. And again, assist if you can't lift up like this. This is muscle abs contracting, holding me up. Yes? If they weren't that strong, or if they weren't strong enough, I wouldn't be able to lift up. But I would, because I'll be doing the first stage, swinging. Remember we went to the twist earlier on? If I can't hold it, don't worry. That's fine. If I can hold a split second, that's great. Okay? Again, working the obliques. That's this side. Now I want to work this side. 90 degrees. Drop your knees to the side. Okay? There's my muscles. Work those. Again, another way of, just a different way. Cross my leg over. Crisscross. Body thinks, what? Okay? Coming up. You'll feel more on one side. Other leg. More here. Okay? By doing this. So small little rotations of wrists, rotation of hips, okay? Or even foot positions. Toeing out, toeing in, straight for legs, okay? And then hand positions for the wrist, different angles for hitting the bicep. And it's the same thing we're doing from the stomach. What I normally suggest for stomach is we hit the stomach from different angles. You only might be able to lose a little bit of fat there, maybe a couple of mil. But a couple of mil from this angle, a couple of mil from this angle, amounts to maybe 10 mil centimeter. Remember when I went for my army physical test and they measured my circumference of my stomach. They told me, wow, that if it was another 2 or 3 centimeters bigger, we wouldn't have you here. And I'm thinking, well, I got guys that have got big bellies on them. I didn't say anything to them. But anyway, I came back and I was called back in the army again 5 weeks later for the actual physical test. This one, they'd done our heart rates and stuff like this. So this was actually a physical test and they were going to measure up circumferences because they said I was heavy. Yeah, for my height and weight ratio, my muscle poundage was quite high. Obviously, I'm quite muscly, so I went on a strict diet myself. And I went back and I had lost 5 centimeters around the whole of my stomach. They were very impressed. They said, "I'm not what you've done." I said, "I'm a personal trainer myself, so I know the exercises." So it can quite easily be done. Again, remember, stomach isn't just about training. The diet is more important than the actual exercise. The exercise is 1/3. Lucky if you got 30%, 33% at a push. Best trainer in the world, doesn't make much difference. That's the percentage gains you're going to probably get 1/3. 2/3, 65% for example, is what you eat. Portion control meals, time of eating, how much you eat, calories conserved, and what type of food that you're eating. So this is, and everyone says, I'm going to do loads of press-ups and sit-ups. Okay, sit-ups, my record, in this basic position. I remember one guy showing me these. How many he can do. This was many years ago. And he told me that he did. And I went home and I tried how many I could do. Any guesses? I'd done 350, which I thought was quite good. Obviously not, because he can do 1,000. I'm good at really every exercise. I was a bit upset with that one. 1,000, more than 3 times my record. So I practiced at home every single day. 3 to 4 weeks later, I saw him at the gym again. He told me it took him 12 minutes to do 1,000. And I practice on, almost every single day. Sometimes I've done it twice a day. And I've done 350, 380, 360 with that non-stop as it got better and better. They were still aching the next day and I still carried on. This is one thing about stomach. If they're still paining you, depending on how serious the pain, again, remember this as for future with every exercise, any body part. Pain, okay, no problem. Of course there's pain. There's no pain, there's no gain. Simple as that, and that is a true fact. You feel nothing, not doing anything, almost. So, pain, tolerance. What is a pain out of 10? 7 out of 10. Okay, not bad. Anything more than 10, you stop or you change the exercise. Sorry, anything more than 7 out of 10, you must stop or reduce what you're doing or change the exercise. If I change to a different exercise and it's still that, it means no, it's still hurting. Then either rest or stop doing it altogether. So that's how we work on pain tolerance. So 5 out of 10 to me means no, it's fine. Yeah, keep going. When it starts hitting 7 out of 10, then you start thinking, okay, what should we do here? Should we change slightly angle? So we do what we can do on that. Okay, so exercises for stomach to finish off. The obliques we just did. So we're going to go back on the 6-pack in a second because those are basic exercises I've just done. We're going to go a little bit harder. But here, this here, that's not really the obliques. The obliques are here. Okay, that's not really the 6-pack as I call it. Okay, again, bodybuilders I've seen up to 8-pack, and I've had that before. Okay, so you can actually have 8 separate muscles here showing again. So just remember that it's not just about a 6-pack. It's actually 8 muscles you can actually gain here, with the oblique showing from the side. Okay, so these handles here, how do we work on these? So they're on the side, so something has to be done from the side angle. So what we do is we just first of all raise our shoulders off the floor and we tuck it into our heels. So off the floor first. So don't just do that, which I can maybe feel working 25%. Here, already engage all my abs. All of them are tight now. Now do the exercise from that position. Okay? Works these handles here. So if you're trying to practice these, try to do 100 of these, okay? Followed by either these or these here, sets of 10 maybe each side, or 50 reps. Then you came to the exercises. What exercises should we do? Just very quickly finishing off what I was talking about earlier with the reps. After 3 to 4 weeks of training, 1,000 is my record in under 10 minutes. Try it at home sometime. All you got to do as many as you can with your shoulder, don't just do that, shoulder blades off the floor. And please, let us know. Yeah, the number here is 01582 481822 or WhatsApp us on 0779 481822. I'd love to know what you guys can do. I'll be honest with you, if anybody can do 200-300, this is non-stop. Okay? I did 1,000 in under 10 minutes, just under 10 minutes. Maybe 10 seconds under it was, because I wanted to beat his record of 11.5 minutes or whatever he was telling me. So just try it sometime at home and see what you can do. Anyway, coming back to the exercises here. So to make them harder, okay, when I said put your legs out like this, again, easier, slightly easier method is hands under your buttocks, gives you a bit of a rest. Okay. Not so much strain on your back now. Toes go forward. And again, holding that position. Make it harder. Slightly pulse, as they call it. Okay, so we're doing the raise. This is the pulse. 1, 2, then back up. This, see the pulse in between? Again, these are alternative exercises, that you can do from that position to make it harder or easier. Very quickly, I'll just go through a few exercises that I do so you can throw these into your routine. Okay, so the first one will be coming up forward. Second one will be the other way around, which we went through earlier. Third one, elbows and knees together, so we're crunching them together. They're not in any order. Next one, hands. Okay. Next one, arms out to the side. This is a bit harder than the one we did earlier. Okay. Also, to do the obliques and different angles on muscles on the abs, alternating the legs, elbows and knees, twisting. 10 fast, 10 slow. V sit-ups, V position, back down, V position. Make sure shoulder blades come off the floor. Okay? So these are the exercises that I normally do. So I do 100 of these in reps. without a rest. And then I'll maybe have 10-20 seconds rest, and I'll do it over again, maybe 5 sets. So you've got enough variation there to go through these exercises for at least 2 to 3 months before you start changing the routine. Okay? So, very quick summary: how to do stomach, what to do for stomach, how regular to do stomach we've been through. Best time to train stomach again is early morning without any food at all. So you're on an empty stomach and you had no food and you're doing your stomach. Best time to do that, okay? Any more tips that you need or you require, please feel free to ring into the office, leave a message or a text message, 01582481822, or WhatsApp us on 07779 481822. I hope this has been helpful. I'm here to help people obviously when it comes to fitness. I've been doing this for a long time myself. Body's still looking half decent. Yeah, I don't have much of a good diet, to be quite honest. Not been great since COVID. I've been having cheat meals almost every day, I'll be quite honest with you, since COVID. So, you know, again, because my red cells and white cells are built different over years of training, it's a little bit harder for me to put on too much fat in one go. But you guys, just keep it up. Consistency is the key. So just keep doing regular and you'll see gains. And if I were you, I'll take skin fold measurements. And people say, you know, okay, take measure, basic, skin fold. You can buy the little calipers, they don't cost very much. And you take measurements of your areas, so then you know how much skin fold you've got. And then you measure that and you see what the difference is. Not so much weight, because sometimes you're losing water content out of your body. Not necessarily means that you've lost much weight, okay? Right, so we're coming to the end of the show. Hopefully I will see you next month, yeah? And I will let you know during this month of what it's going to be about, okay? So, great to see you guys. Hopefully we'll see you next month. My name's Leo. Have a great night.